Hello and welcome back to Pod Fiction. This week I'm joined by my co-host Ethan.
Hello.
My co-host Harley.
Hello.
And our special guest Jack Laver.
Hello.
This week we're going to be discussing RoboCop, the original. What year was it?
Oh wow, Ethan doesn't know a fact for once. What a shock.
I know. I don't know why. RoboCop just never really seemed like my sort of film, but
Yeah.
after watching it, it really is.
I don't know, I'm a bit iffy with it.
Really?
It was good, but it wasn't. It was one of those things. I just
Yeah,
liked
but what parts weren't good? Because they probably weren't meant to be good.
See, I went into it expecting not to like it. I was like, oh, it's just going to be a trashy 80s movie that I won't like because bad animation, all that, like the stereotypical bad 80s, like
I mean, I enjoyed it.
genre thing. But I enjoyed it too.
I like the weird robot thing, the big robot. What are they called?
ED.
They look like giant. They're the ones that make animal noises. I like those.
It's a 1987 release and it's directed by Paul Verhoeven.
Dutch guy.
Sounds Dutch. But I think he wrote it as well, so he did the script writing work for it as well.
It's a very satirical movie, and I think it's got a really trashy title and a very trashy aesthetic. But then I also think it sort of did that sort of parody and like sort of satirically take the mick out of trashy 80 movies. You know, because it's a cop movie, and just the excessiveness of everything. You know, like, you know when. That guy in the board meeting who gets shot like 1 billion times, and it's just like, how much ammo does this robot have?
And then someone shouts, "Get a paramedic!" I'm like, he's dead.
I was
Just
actually
call the
dying
police.
at that
He's
point.
dead.
That was so full.
It's
Get a
just
paramedic.
over the top to the point of like, it's just, you
It's
don't know what to
funny.
think, do you? So you just laugh.
Thing is, I do like it, but it wasn't like some other films we've watched that have actually. That it's not memorable to me.
I think what you're trying to get at is it was a funny film to watch and it was
Is it memorable?
it was a good film, but it's not world renowned. It's not like
No.
the best of this genre of film. It's just an all-round
Good
enjoyable
satire.
film, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable film. It's just not memorable.
However, I think it's iconic.
In what way?
Yeah.
It's everyone knows RoboCop.
Well,
I just want to talk about the robot.
Before the film, did you know who RoboCop was?
I knew of him.
Exactly.
I didn't really know anything about
I
it.
think that's more
Really?
maybe the design department,
seen
like
it
the
before.
people who created the character RoboCop and the suit. I think that's quite memorable.
They're like
But the film
opening leg thing with
itself,
the gun.
I'd never seen any of the clips from it. I'd never really had an interest in watching it. But so I think it just goes to the art department and the people who created his suit.
Can we talk about how really weird it actually was? I mentioned earlier the robot that makes noises. Okay, so there's those big robot things.
ED, yeah.
But every time they do anything, at one point it makes like a roar like a lion. Then when it falls down the stairs, it squeaks like a pig.
Squealing like a
What other noises did it make?
when it got blown up, when Murphy, he gets out his car and blows it up with the big rocket launcher sniper rifle, it goes like a horse when it dies.
Oh yeah.
It squeals like a pig.
Yeah.
I like the way it's animated. I think it's quite clever.
I like-
It's slightly nostalgic. It reminds me of Wallace and Gromit.
I think with the animation is, although it is dated and it's jerky and it's not right, that just adds to the
Cheesiness.
yeah, not the
Cheesiness,
cheesiness, but
weird
it adds to the fact that the robot is meant to be the failure of this company that
Yeah.
wasn't chosen, and the animation just kind of backs that up because it's jerky and it's not quite right, something's off, and I just like that.
It's so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I think in the time it's the
good for
best
the time,
animation
definitely.
around.
Compared to now, though.
Yeah,
But that's just techniques improving,
If you
isn't it?
look
Yeah,
back
now
at
it's
that, though,
CGI,
you see the
it's-
animations and it's so funny.
A lot of the stuff now is CGI rather than
I think
that sort
the
of
idea that
animation,
they went,
like stop motion and things like that.
the go motion they
What was
used,
it?
Go motion. It was just like the idea of it is such a unique idea and it's such a cool way of presenting
Really
things.
clever.
And it hadn't been used very much before that film, and
It's just like as much
Yeah.
as we go on, it doesn't look like today's standards, but I think maybe we did use more practical effects. They would look better today, you know, like The Thing, for example. The practical effects in that are amazing.
I agree. I love the thing. The effects in that is good.
I think that's why I didn't want to see the film, because I had this in my head that it was an old 80s movie that was a comedy kind of thing, so I was like, it's not going to
It
be
didn't sound
that
like my cup of tea.
good
It wasn't
kind of
really
thing.
my cup of tea anyway, but it was alright. It wasn't like I'm not saying it's a bad film. Like it was so cleverly done. I can appreciate that. It's just not really my sort of film.
I enjoy cop movies and I enjoy like satire films, so I quite enjoyed it. But And I loved all like the cameos of like, not cameos, but hints to other 80s kind of things, and like, I really enjoyed it.
Well, can we go into Ethan's film theory of the week?
Sure.
Okay.
Is that going to become a recurring theme now?
I got a film theory for this one, guys. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory. So, film theory. RoboCop is more a satire on us as human beings and as a society on how we approach violence in the media and in films.
Honestly, if we saw all that, like the guy getting shot in the office, in real life, it would be traumatising, but we laughed.
Well,
It made us laugh.
exactly. Well, we live in a time, remember this was the 80s, this was pre-Tarantino, pre-loads of things, and when Tarantino sort of hit the scene, it was iconic for the violence. And I think this film just goes to show how, like you said, it's weird because when we hear the news and it's like, you know, innocent people dying and like, oh, you know, a cop dies, we're like, you know, it's an uncomfortable situation. But then when we watch it on the screen, if a man get obliterated, it's funny, but it's just on the verge of being disturbed. Like when Murphy died to the gang and he got his arm blown off by the shotgun and he's there crying, holding his arm in his hand, he's getting obliterated, and everyone sat there like, yeah, pretty crushed movie, yeah, the movie's pretty good. And then the news as well. The news, I think, also sort of is just satirising us as humans, how we can just open a newspaper, go on the news, oh my god, 15 died in a car bomb. Okay, cool. But because it's so far away from us, we don't perceive it as a dangerous threat. Like at the start of the movie, they speak about how a thermonuclear bomb might get let off in this little city-state in the Middle East. And it's just sort of really forgotten about. And the only times that the news is mentioned is in the most stupid way, like the revolution in Mexico, someone goes, oh no, the airport they just raided, I can't go on holiday there anymore.
I think the length of the edit and like the cuts that are used backs up your theory. Like with the news, like it was literally 30 seconds done, over and done with, because it's news. But even the stories they talked about, it was like, here it is, that's it. But when it comes to like the scene of the guy getting obliterated by that robot in the tower, it's the shot of like his body just being ripped apart by bullets is held on for so long, and you're kind of forced to watch it. And at that point, you just start laughing at look
Don't
at
know
that.
how to react.
And it's just the contrast between the long shots of that with the tiny snippets of the actual news, and yeah.
With the news, it's not just the length of it either. The fact that they just go off it almost instantly after they've spoken about
it's
it.
like the
It's
way.
also the fact that they're grinning. They're kind of like, oh, we'll see you again next week, which is actually
They get
so
so
realistic.
accustomed to it, don't they? Like,
It's
that's
so
just their job, and they
realistic
have to do that.
I've never seen the news where something bad happens and they just sit and they genuinely look realistically solemn when they are seeming like they're not happy about something. It looks like they're just kind of got this professional atmosphere and they don't seem like real people. I can't see humanity in news.
And
broadcast.
I think the director, he wasn't going for like aren't all human beings horrible people. I think what he's trying to say is like, it's not a glorification of violence saying this is all right and this is funny. I think what he's saying is it's sort of all right to laugh at it because it's a film. And there are so many instances in this film where it's so stupid. And
It's like it's so stupid it can't be real.
Exactly, the rocket launcher sniper rifle. Like as much as there are these somber moments, and I think it does say a lot about the media, but then I think the violence-wise and how we laugh at violence, I don't think it's saying you should feel like a bad person for enjoying watching a man die. I think what it's saying is it's a stupid film. You shouldn't have to think about it that much.
It doesn't take itself too seriously.
Exactly.
It's
I
just
like
a
that.
fun film.
It's a stupid film, but it's stupid on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those ones where they actually tried really hard and it turned out rubbish. They genuinely just had the ridiculous humour, and then yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
I spoke to
They did it on
people,
purpose.
and they just said it was cringy. They didn't get that it was actually funny.
I thought it was funny. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed
think
the film.
They
It's
didn't
not
see it, though.
memorable.
It wasn't.
to me.
I think they
for
say
them it
it's-
wasn't obvious enough.
I wouldn't be bothered to watch it.
I think they say it's cringy because of the outdated techniques, and
Yeah.
I think that's why they put off fixed. That's how I was. And also, I also have a theory for once. Not a very developed one, but I was thinking this throughout the film. I was like, because there's in real life, you get these officers who are shot and like nearly killed, and it happens all the time, and they get back after like a year or two to slowly start kind of like working up to where they were before like they got shot or like they were injured in like a car accident or something. And I think RoboCop, to me, although he died in the movie, Murphy died. It's kind of that same thing where it's you change your person after this incident, and then it's all about making your way back up. And then I thought this for like 3/4 of the way through the film, and then at the end I was just like, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's just a stupid film.
What? When he takes his mask off and he's just like a face on a robot body, he just goes around blasting people with the rocket launcher sniper gun.
Yeah, from that
I think.
I was just like,
Yeah. His face reminds me of yours. Ethan. He looks like Ethan. It's funny.
he did show me. It's so funny.
Yeah, if Ethan pulls his hair back, he doesn't look like him.
Well, don't say it now. I can't see it.
We'll add a photo of you doing that at the end of the podcast, so everyone can see after like credits or whatever you have at the end.
Getting closer and closer to the
Photoshop me
screen.
onto a robot head.
Let's do it.
Or like RoboCop's body, but with my face.
We've gone a bit off topic, but okay. Jack, do you have anything to say? You haven't really said much. You kind of just been.
Sat there doing nothing.
Well, this is literally just my opinion, and I know this isn't like, I wouldn't say this is correct, this is just my opinion, is the comedy, I like it to be so in your face and obvious,
Yeah.
where I don't think this was as much, which is cool, but like, I don't know, I like the Mel Brooks style where it's like on Airplane and Blazing Saddles where it's so obvious that it's a joke. But I think this one was just a bit more low-key.
It's in some ways it's so in your face, but in other ways it's subtle.
It's in this one it's less obvious than films like Airplane. Isn't in Airplane there's that weird scene where she's having a panic attack and everyone just goes and slaps her?
Airplane is just so wacky. And
I've only seen like a part of it. I've never seen the whole film.
Well, I think Airplane's just a wacky movie. However, I think Airplane is a satire movie on film, but this is also satirizing society, and I don't think you could really take a satirization of a commercial society when halfway through a war. Like, I remember there's this scene in Airplanes, but I don't know if it's a spoiler, but there's just a melon falls from the ceiling and lands on a desk. And I imagine that in RoboCop where they're talking about, oh yeah, let's build these super cops so we can build a crime-free city. And it's all set around Detroit, which is an area now which is very barren because the automotive industry left it. So there's loads of unemployed people. Yeah, but
companies in the film take, like, they're the ones in charge and they're the ones creating this world. And it's without them, it would just be the film wouldn't exist, would it?
And just imagine during that bit where he's talking about building this super city, a melon just fell from the ceiling, the attention goes from the message to "lol melon, ha ha ha."
It's just, I think in Airplane it's funny because of like.
Because it's a wacky comedy movie.
Like, why kind of question. Here it's like they've got reasoning behind it and they're using that to satirize not only the film media but also companies and like society in general, I think.
Well, and then I also think that I think the commercial at the start where they're advertising a pacemaker, and he describes that it's he says, oh, it's a Yamaha pacemaker, and Yamaha are a big commercial company that make motorbikes, watches, pianos, and all this.
Yamaha in real life do make
Exactly. So it's just like. I think it's weird now because we do live in a time where loads of corporate companies are backing up loads of like government services, and it is pretty scary because back then it was like, oh haha, wouldn't that be such a funny dystopian future? But now we've got cops and all our governments are being privatized. Like Lincoln knows it best with all its builders, and then the Triton going bankrupt, and like our builders worked for a company that went bust, so now all our builders are out of work, and it's like, oh, scary.
Stuart mentioned that, like, he was joking around, like, oh, we don't have privatised the police force yet, or privatised ambulance, and half of that's kind of not true. Like, a lot of
There's a private hospital with private ambulances right like on Netlem Road.
Like, yeah, there's even within the NHS, they've had to partner up with like Tassel.
My mum works at a private place. She's a nurse. I don't know why I said that. Ethan's just like,
Just the way Josh is trying to make a good point about commercialisation. You just go,
I know. I'm just
"My
giving.
mum
I'm
works
just
at a
giving
private-"
examples. Like, yeah,
Sick.
genuinely they exist.
No, but like, so
Oh,
Tassel
sorry.
is a private company, and it's kind of the NHS has been forced to, like, not forced to, but out of we can't
Desperation,
afford, like,
yeah.
Yeah, desperation. They're working with these private companies to try and get a grip, and it's like, even with the police force, like, there was rumour of like sponsored police forces, and it's like, that could be just around the corner.
Sponsored, please. What?
Did you not see Russell Howard's clip on it? It's
What?
like
So they'll have a
Mackey's
Mackey's logo
stuck to
in the
back.
front.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's like,
I think I've seen
could be
that.
a possibility. Like in 10 years' time, when the government's really gone to like rock bottom, and the country's got no money, we could have sponsored police forces and like no NHS.
That would be weird.
I
getting
feel like that'd be
told to have your
scary
hands
because
up
it's
by
not
someone
government
with
control.
looking
They can
at
do
the
what they
front
want.
of it.
Exactly. That's the scary part, and that's why I think the movie's just so scary, and how the fact we are approaching it in real life, it's sort of scary because imagine laws that aren't dictated by the government and the people in charge, but dictated by business people who are only looking out for them.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So imagine.
He is a businessman.
So imagine if you walk into Mackey's and I don't know you take the wrong order, and that's a serious crime to them because they're looking out for their profit margin instead of looking out for the people because they're businessmen in charge. Scary.
It's scary. Oh, then again, we are genuinely going towards that now more than we were when the film was made because of Donald Trump and his whole. He is a businessman and he is running. He's one of the most powerful man in the world.
He's a company owner.
And he's a company owner, and that's literally all he ever has been until recent years.
And then it's scary because that's the scariest thing about the satire movie so far. Is that because they were set in like the 80s and the 90s, it's like, wow, wouldn't this be a really stupid and silly future? And now we're there, and it's like, where
Alright.
Falling Down had the whole, wow, don't we live in such a commercial society? And then, you know, literally it's based in Los Angeles, which is now the biggest place in the world for tech companies and people with like implants. Doctors are living at large, whilst people working as nurses and stuff are struggling. It's just like too real.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should start to wrap this up. My battery's getting low.
Okay, wrap this up. Next week, Fight Club.
Yeah!
Oh, yes!
So excited.
I've never seen it before. Can't wait.
Oh my god.
Oh, you
this is
haven't seen
amazing.
it? Oh, it's
Never.
We might even have our first 30-minute long. I think we can break.
I think-
we can
yeah.
make. We can
I
break
don't
30
get
minutes.
to
back.
watch it. It's not
Are
fair.
you-
We can
not
break.
there?
Me and Ethan
Well,
can
I've
break
got
30
into
minutes
a derby.
easily. We've spoken
Oh.
about Fight
I don't
Club
even
for
want to
hours.
go there.
We got to have on the podcast for Fight Club.
We have to, Abby.
I already know the ending.
Oh,
Yeah.
she
We're
should.
not allowed to talk about it.
It's going to have to be a quick podcast, isn't it?
This was
First of all-
RoboCop. Beep boop boop beep 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 boop 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 beep
Beep.
beep boop boop
See you
And
later.
on that point, thanks for listening.
Thank
Tune in
you.
next week.
beep boop.
Bye.
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 See you later, mate.